Investing in people. It's something I remember hearing from a previous employer many moons ago. He said, I see potential and I want to invest in you. And at the time, I wasn't really sure what it meant. Did he want to buy me courses for me to up my skill set? Did he want to send me to college? Was I getting a new Mac? Anyway, I realised it meant he was on his own journey and he wanted to help me along with mine and teach me and help me along my own path using the tools and the resources that he had himself, that he had acquired. And in the corporate world, it definitely feels like it was an act of kindness, a statement of camaraderie and an opportunity to improve myself under the guidance of someone else more experienced. Now, it didn't end up like that. He was part of a sales team of complete and utter cowboys who didn't pay me my commission, and I left shortly after, but the words, I want to invest in you, always stuck with me. Because it applies to lending between friends and family as well. And our last episode with Chris Daniels, his dad lent him increasing amounts of money as he grew older because Chris always paid him back, and that's great. And his dad saw that as a worthwhile investment of his money. But what I want to explore today is, what is a worthwhile investment of your time? And my friend recently asked me, would I be interested in going to a soccer game next week? And I said yes, that of course would be a lot of fun. And he lent me the money to buy me a ticket, or rather he bought them and said pay me back whenever. And not tooting my own horn or anything, but what a valuable investment of time that is for him too, having such sterling conversation at this football game as well. But in a more serious way, my previous sales guru employer, who really wasn't a bad guy, wanted to invest his time in me. He wanted to train me up and give me his time to do so. And my next guest, Ally Muller, talks a lot about this. She has invested in companies, but she's not the type of investor to sit back and see what happens. She likes to get involved. And she's the director at GOYA Consulting. GOYA helps companies implement innovation and digital transformation strategies to get them to achieve their vision and their goals. And Ally talks about how she got started and how she invests her money and her time, and when is the right time to walk away, maybe from a project, before you start seeing a loss on these investments. So listening to my interview with Ally, I invite you to think about, when you lend someone money or you make an investment, is it the type of loan where you're doing the borrower a favour, or can it be something that can benefit both the borrower and the lender, like a fun evening at a soccer game? Enjoy the interview. Ally, thank you so much for joining me today in the Chirp. It's a pleasure talking to you. I know are you joining me from Brisbane? Is that correct?
Yes, thanks for having me, Cameron. Yes, I am
Yeah.
joining you from Brisbane, Australia.
Fantastic. From Barcelona to Brisbane. What time difference? Time difference. Where is your staying? Listen, lovely to have you. Quite keen to get into this after doing a bit of research on you. I know you're with GOYA Consulting, and I'd love to kind of hear about, what your role is there, what kind of work you do there, and kind of just dive into that a bit. So, what's your role now at GOYA?
So I'm the managing director. So I started Goya Consulting based off a number of years of experience of consulting and investment banking and working with entrepreneurs and startups and my own businesses, and really just feeding the need to organizations that were saying, how do we get that corporate innovation inside our own business? So tell us what we need to do to
Mm,
get a better innovation program inside our businesses, actually make it work, and not pretend that we're startups, but do something that will make money, not just tick the box to say that we've got an innovation program. So I set up this organization to do that, and we work across a number of businesses. And at the moment, we're working across technology streams. We're working
cool.
across the film industry, which is super exciting and a
Mm.
little different. We've been working in healthcare, in downstream food manufacturing, people industries. Yeah, lots of different organizations have picked us up and started to work with our framework, which is super, super exciting.
And I suppose the work you do itself, I know I listened to a kind of a couple of their podcasts that you were on, and kind of the work that you do and how you tackle it. But could you tell our listeners what's kind of a high level overview of your framework, how you do kind of tackle these, these strategies and this transformation within these companies? What's kind of your step by step, and how do you execute it?
Well, what we do is we start by setting up a culture of innovation, and I know that sounds like a lot of people will go and do that and things like that, but what we really need to do is we go and we debunk the myths. So we get rid of all the things that are holding you back, all the things that you might have in your head as an organization or a group of leaders to say, are we innovating? Is this truly innovation? What does this really look like? And we get rid of that right from the get go. So we pride ourselves on almost just streamlining the crap out of the business from an innovation perspective. It really is, and I hate to say it, it really is an overused word. It's an overused value in organizations, and it feels like something that everybody is saying, this is innovative, this is innovative, this is innovative. But what we really need to do is just pull that back to its bare bones and say, what truly is innovation to this organization? What is the
Mhm.
mandate that we're going to live with? And what does that mean? So that we can end up saying, look, that is a new piece of technology or a new piece of software that someone else developed. That's a great thing for the business, but that doesn't belong in our innovation portfolio. So that we can get people working on truly solving the problems to be truly innovative and creative in that space rather than tick the box, we adopted something new and we're innovation.
Yeah, so it definitely sounds like there's a science to it, but what's kind of fascinating to me is the psychology about it, and you kind of touched on it there with, your emphasis on the people, and I know that's one of your company's values as well. You pride yourselves on, your people that are a part of your team. Um, Kind of the psychology around it. How important are, people and relationships in transformations and strategies like these? And can you touch on or talk a bit about, how you incorporate that into your strategy, and how, you say things go wrong? How do you, work that with the people and that kind of thing?
People are everything in innovation. And it's really because I truly believe that people are the lifeblood of any innovation program inside an organization. So it is what we're doing to manage that, not only from the top, because yes, we need to have the decisions being made at the top because they're probably going to fund it, they're going to make the decisions, but also from the bottom up, because that's where I truly believe the ideas are coming from. So, how do we have the right processes inside the organization, the right frameworks? And decision making capability. And that's something that's really important. I just want to say that again, decision making capability. So, something that we see that goes wrong every time and really pulls people out of the psychology of innovation is inconsistent decision making around what they're
Mm,
doing. So, one day it's really, we're going to do this, and then the next day we're going to do that. Innovation just doesn't work that way. We have to keep plugging away at something. So it might take us 15 goes. Or what if it's like Edison said, it's the 10,000 times I got it wrong to understand how the 10,001st time how I got to get it right.
mhm,
So we need to manage those processes as well and allow people to manage that. But in terms of the people and the psychology, one of the things that we really focus on, and it is a core part of the framework that we deliver inside organizations, I term it getting your band of misfits together. It's actually about getting the right type of people inside the different innovation teams once you've actually understood what idea you would like to play with and really starting to think about that differently. So, I know in a lot of organizations, we understand how to do that black hat thinking. We might even understand how to put the red team in, how to come in there and really criticize everything. But what we want to do, in my opinion, and what I've seen work very, very well, is I call it pulling all the pirates together because we need to think about all the different ways to make this work. And this isn't about people being naysayers on the project, although we do need them. These are the
mhm.
people that are just looking to do it differently. They are biting their time to just do something really crazy and different. They've got all these way out ideas and they really do follow the mission of the organization because they want to see it succeed. And this is how we're going to get that really different and out there thinking. And it's by putting these different types of people together that will question each other, they will challenge each other, they will push each other to the limits. And they may not be the people that we think about from a day to day basis normally. And that's actually what makes it really work. Because one of the things we ask our leaders not to do when we work with them is they tend to give every project, every fun project like that to the star player. And the top performer, and that's wonderful. We definitely need them inside the team, but that shouldn't be the whole entire team. And the reason for that is they're not prepared to fail, because failure doesn't work for them inside the organization. That certainly hasn't been their career path. They're all about
Hmm.
consistent, strong, standard delivery. That's great for delivering on the process. That's great for delivering nice growth mechanisms for standardized, processes in the organization. But that's not great for innovation. We need somebody who is really prepared to push it to the limits, understanding that failure is part of the growth of these projects and what we can learn from failure. And failure isn't bad.
Hmm.
We all talk about it inside organizations. We talk about learning and we talk about failing forward and failing fast. But in the scheme of things, where we see some problems is that people are still really, really, really afraid to fail because they feel that it will reflect negatively on their career performance inside the organizations. They do
Hmm.
actually wonder what it will mean for them when it comes into their performance review. And what if they haven't made all the budget and key performance indicator requirements that they were
The
looking
personal
for in that
brand is
role?
damaged.
Yes.
Mm.
And we need to move past that. So we need to, if we do want to actually change, develop, grow, and truly innovate, we do have to allow people to get past that and understand when that's appropriate and when it's not.
Very interesting, and not something you often hear in the corporate world, or corporate leaders talking about. So very refreshing. I suppose during the span of your career, and you say you've worked with startups. I'm sure you've worked with enterprises as well. You know, going through all of your roles and the people that you've dealt with, how do kind of money and relationships fit in to what you've seen in kind of the corporate world, or in business in general? Have you any kind of stories where it's gone wrong, or have you seen someone that's doing it right?
Yeah, I think it's particularly in the startup world, it goes wrong all the time, right?
Mm.
For a number of different reasons. I've had my own fair share of ones that have gone right and ones that have gone wrong, and I think that's all part of the learning process. But where I see it go really wrong, in a lot of instances, is we get too caught up in the hype of what we believe the startup world should look like, and we get in that whole hype and hustle, and we need to raise money too quickly. And I'm sure you've heard this before, and a lot of people with their ideas go straight to those three F's: the friends, family, and fools, to try and raise money. And they do it in ways that are very unstructured, and people genuinely do believe if they're going to give money, but they don't understand what's going to happen to them. How are they going to get their money back? What does that look like? What are
Mm.
the terms that I'm giving you the money on? What is the time frame that I'm expecting to see a return on? We don't see enough of that being structured. So I see a lot of people getting burnt in that space, and then therefore being very hesitant to reinvest in different types of startup models. And I think I've had my wins and my losses on that one as well. I think you learn
Mm.
very early in that one. And so, but I've also had some great success where I have been fortunate enough to work with some startups. And I'm very picky and selective on that one. I have my own criteria and how I work with them, and being able to invest some money in that. And then with that comes my time. I have found that I'm not somebody that can just hand over money and go for it. Let me know how it goes in the
Yeah.
startup world. With that comes my time and my expertise. And over time, I've actually been able to cash out on a couple of those startups as they've gone through their growth stages, and it's been really lucrative for me. So, but yeah, it's I'm very cautious at the same time. It's not easy.
Yeah. Absolutely. And kind of, just kind of diving bit into more of your stories, even kind of your wins. Can you kind of give me an example of, when it did work out, and what were kind of the steps that you followed to ensure that it was a success, and weren't going to lose out or anything like that?
Sometimes I've just been really lucky as well. I'll tell you a story. Sometimes you just get a bit of luck, right?
Yeah.
One of my first entrepreneurial, it's when I was launching out a little bit from the corporate world when I was a lot younger, was I wanted to have a fitness brand. Really into fitness. It's a huge hobby of mine, and I wanted to have
Yeah.
one of those activewear brands. And I was just really at the front end of that athleisure wear trend. So I was really right on it. And I was fortunate enough to recognize a couple of different brands. And I was able to buy the license rights of those brands to sell them in the Asia Pacific region down here. But it was just me, and it's little old me, and I was doing okay. I was getting my Instagram profile, and back then Facebook was a lot bigger than what it was in those types of markets, and things like
Yeah.
TikTok didn't exist. Um, but I still couldn't help but get gazumped by, the much bigger player. So, those international rights were then sold to a much bigger player, and they would have then also had the opportunity to gazump me. I was just fortunate enough to get on the front foot of that and have those conversations really early, find out where they wanted to go, and let them buy me out of those licenses. So the way I saw it was I lost kind of money on one side of the business because I couldn't sell all of it. But then because they bought me out of those IP rights and those licenses, I made enough money to counteract that. So you learn very quickly that, sometimes when that 900-pound elephant comes into the room, you kind of have to listen to them and find out, can you actually play against them? Or is it better to sell out early? And for
Yeah.
me, I was happy, I was wise that I sold out early. I didn't try and play them. I didn't think I had the skills and the smarts in that space because I was still getting to know the industry.
Mm.
Whereas I see mistakes in other startups all the time. They think, no, no, we're going to do this. We can be the underdog. We can do this. And sometimes the underdog wins, but sometimes they lose as well, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's good that that was a great win. Going back to Goya, is part of your your strategy and your transformation in these projects. Do you ever kind of work internally, as in like the team, in terms of their payment and how they look after their staff, and is that kind of something that you cover, or is it more kind of a project based service that you offer?
A lot of the businesses and the companies that we work with are ASX listed companies. So they're on the share market. They don't actually really do that. But we have worked with a couple of smaller companies where we have allowed people, the opportunity to earn shares in the company through the work that they do. So
Cool.
that's been an opportunity, but no, not so much. But when I that definitely more in the startup phase. We don't do a lot of consulting to the startups. I do all that. That's something I do personally. It's usually
Lovely.
when they're in that real startup stage, they don't have a lot of money to spend on consultants, do they? So
Yeah.
that's a labor of love and investment that some of my staff members as well do individually. But
Mm.
what I do encourage them to do is the people that work for me, if they have a passion, if they have something that they love and they have something that they're just burning to go and do, they've got to go and do it. That we have to be able to walk our talk by actually delivering on the work that we do, by not only understanding it ourselves, but by sharing our learnings with organizations as we go through. And that applies to me as well. I'm hugely passionate about film and film production, and I've been learning more and more about that as part of. I see that as the second part of my career, and I've now
Yeah.
invested in a film production company. So I'm working with that. So we're working with a number of different films and a few different distribution studios around the world. So yes, I'm walking my talk with that as well. I think it's really important that we're not just theoretical practitioners, that we are also understanding how this is evolving in the market, and we can bring those learnings on a day-to-day basis to everyone that we work with.
I adore film as well. I'm quite keen to talk to you about that. Where are you fitting in there? I suppose is my kind of my broad question. Obviously, they're businesses, they're huge businesses, and it's great to hear that you're involved in numerous films. But is this something you're doing personally, or is this a Goya client that you have? Kind of, and where do you guys fit in?
Bit of both. So something I'm doing
Okay.
personally is that I've personally invested in a film production company. So I'm working with that, and we've got some indie films that are coming through, and that's really exciting. Where we're coming at it from a Goya perspective is we've also built our framework into a software process so that we can implement the framework inside organizations.
Okay.
And what I've been looking at as I've come across some of these films is that um, sometimes, not always, but sometimes it is just unbelievable amounts of chaos, and I'm not sure how those projects get made. And so I was looking at it, I was thinking, we can adjust some of our frameworks and some of our software, and we're trialing that on a film that we're going to start shooting later this year. So that's where I come at it from, the innovation space.
Yeah.
And then also, we've been helping a client who's been developing new forms of robotics for certain types of animation in film. So we've been helping them through that innovation model in that space, which has been amazing and fun and challenging and really different, and really on that cutting edge piece of innovation. So hopefully we can see that coming through in future films in the future.
That's fantastic. So is film, is that a deep passion of yours already before you even started your corporate career?
It really is. It really was. Something I've always loved. I suppose it's something that I thought I'd never find myself in because I never saw myself as creative. And,
Mm.
going through school and university and all those different things, it was just a natural progression to go down that finance path, the maths and all those different things that came super simple to me. So I kind of felt like, you follow that traditional career path because that's the good thing to do.
There's a better
But
financial incentive as well, I'm sure, instead of going into film.
yeah, 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 yeah. And also, I must admit, I'm not trying to sound terrible in Australia, but we didn't have the same type of film education programs that we see in other countries in the world.
Mhm.
So, from my perspective, I didn't want to be I didn't want to be a director. I didn't want to be someone who's looking after the camera or anything like that. That just definitely is not my skill set. And I think inside that executive production type of role where I'm starting to find myself
Yeah.
is it's much more suited because not only does it, take into consideration all the finance and the investment, but we're looking at managing all those different creative elements to do something new. And then there's all those project management pieces as well. And, it takes a lot of people and a huge amount of different brains to make a film. So I'm just one of many, and I'm really enjoying that.
That's fantastic. It's great that, the what's the word I'm looking for? The transferable skills that people can acquire over the years, and to be able to, do something that you've become such an expert at, and actually go back to another one of your passions and be able to meld, or melt them together is fantastic, and I'm very happy that you're able to do that.
Yeah, and
That's
it's interesting because
that's
you
cool.
also kinda get to be bad at something again, right? So, 'cause,
Yeah.
you're working on something new and it's something you haven't really done. So you kinda
Yeah.
have to be prepared to be a little bit bad at something too, and that's a good thing to do because when you're bad at something, you go, "Right, I'm gonna open up all those holes and the gaps. Where's my knowledge, and what am I gonna do? What am I gonna learn, and who am I gonna shadow?" and all those different things. So, yeah, it's really good to really learn something new again like that.
Yeah, like learning a new language. I'm just learning Spanish at the moment, and I've never felt more stupid. But there you go. It's time will tell. Time will tell. That's fantastic. Well, listen, Ali, it sounds like there's a lot of exciting things on the horizon. People listening, if they want to get in touch, learn more about Goya or even chat to you like I am. What's the best way to find you or to even book your services with Goya?
So yeah, just send me an email. I'm Ally, Ally, at Goya Consulting, GOYA consulting.com.au. Or if you're super interested and you want to learn more, I did actually write this book called Corporate Innovation. So they can grab my book on Amazon. That's got my 9-step framework in there. And I talk about all the culture pieces and how to get those myths outside of your thinking and your organization and get rid of them and really start afresh to be truly innovative. So if someone's keen, they can get that book as well.
Fantastic. And that, and those 9 steps, are, you're using that in, corporations? Are you using it in, with the film projects as well? Is it kind of the same skeleton of steps?
Absolutely, it works.
Mm.
This is something that works across industries. This is, for me, this works. I don't care whether you're manufacturing, whether we're making a film, or whether we're going to, try and build a new, different type of road, which we've actually done with some infrastructure projects. Well, this 9 steps works. These are your thinking frameworks, and then obviously the work that you need to do in each project will be a little different inside those steps. But these are the thinking frameworks that you need to go through, and it truly works. And I'm using
Fantastic.
it every
Okay.
day in all my new industries.
That's good. That's good. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me, Ali. I'll be sure to put the link to your book below in the description. And it was great chatting to you, and I wish you the best luck, and best luck with pulling all of your passions together, and enjoying what you do and loving what you do.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me on, Cameron. It's been a great chat.
A wise outlook from Ali there on the importance of lending for people starting out in business, where to look for money, and ensuring that repayments are done properly. And I really enjoyed Ali's 3 F's for getting money: friends, family, and fools. That was good. I also liked how Ali said that she has often invested in startups, but isn't the type of investor to give the money and leave them at it. She likes to invest her time as well in whatever she invests money in. And if she believes in something, she wants to give it her all and not watch from the sidelines or check in every once in a while. And that was also evident in her combining her passions by investing in film production as well. I'm a huge film buff myself, and it was great to see Ali making the leap and being new at something that she knows she loves and can find success in. So I'm very excited for her, and I wish her the best in that as well. But what I want to end this episode on is, what can borrowers do to go the extra mile for those lending them money? Aside from an interest rate and a diligent repayment plan, how can one show appreciation on top of that? And Daniel Cruz said in episode 1, he said, lending is part of who we are. And loans between loved ones aren't, formal transactions with horrid consequences. It's helping each other out. So let's always be a bit conscious that loans can be just as much an investment of time as it can be money. A dad lending his daughter money to start her first business, and that same daughter years later taking her elderly dad to Hawaii for a retirement holiday. Or, a guy lending his friend money to go to a soccer game with him can look forward to, fun conversations and no doubt some free beers too on the evening as well. So there can always be other outcomes from lending aside from just financial transactions. So see you all again in 2 weeks for another episode. For all you lovebirds out there, have a wonderful Valentine's Day and take care. Bye-bye.